Hello and welcome. This is The Point of View. We're live on City TV. On The Point of View, we select the right topics, get the right guests, ask the relevant questions, and at the end of the day, we glean some useful insights. My name is Duke Mensah-Opoku, sitting in for your regular host, Bernard Koku-Avle. I'll take a break here. When I come back, I'll introduce the issue up for discussion and the wonderful guests who help us do the dissection. Stay with us. So Ghana has a brand new parliament, the 8th parliament. Now that had to be put in place before the inauguration of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's investiture for his second term. But the incidents that characterized the inauguration and the swearing of the 8th parliament and the subsequent election of Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, Ghana's longest serving member of parliament, as the speaker for the 8th parliament, is one that has been described in various terms by many political watchers and other social commentators as well. Now, the chaos that ensued before the election of the the speaker of the 8th parliament is what we are discussing on The Point of View in this edition. I have two guests, seasoned guests, of course, the whips of both caucuses in parliament. Now, we must understand that this has this unfolded, of course, all of these chaos unfolded on the floor of parliament because of the situation in which we find ourselves in, a parliament that is split right down the aisle. The NPP caucus has 137 members. The NDC caucus also has 137 members. And the one independent member of parliament, Andrew Amoako-Isiamah, who on the night or in the morning was also elected as the second deputy speaker. We'll begin by taking a look at some of the things that happened, which has necessitated this discussion around whether our democracy is in danger or not because of what transpired that morning on the 7th of January.
It was cast in stone that the election of the new Speaker of Parliament will witness some level of drama. The events after the December 7 election did give a clue, as the two major parties with equal number of seats claimed to have attained majority. But the activities from midnight of January 7, which dragged an election between two candidates for more than 8 hours, shocked many Ghanaians. Even before the first meeting of the House could begin, words were out there that the two parties had calmed their members in order to whip them in line to vote for their preferred candidates. This was somehow confirmed when members of the two parties began arriving in hired buses. The NDC MPs arrived in a unified manner and quickly took their seats to the right side of the speaker's position to convince themselves and Ghanaians that they won majority of seats in parliament. This was the beginning of the unending drama that was witnessed throughout the process of electing the speaker.
The members of the NDC caucus are actually seated at the right-hand side of the speaker and indicating that they have formed the majority in the House. If you look clearly also near the dais, near the box of the House, which usually houses and keeps the mace of Parliament, you can see that the Honorable Haruna Iddrisu, who is the leader of the NDC caucus in the House, is caught up in a conversation with other senior members of the NPP caucus. I can see
the NPP members after this started arriving, but unlike their counterparts, they did not come in their full numbers at the same time. Outnumbered, the first batch did not argue with the NDC MPs, but silently took their seats on the left side meant for the minority. The entry of KT Hammond, NPP MP for Asokwa, however, changed the atmosphere as he shouted at the NDC MPs to vacate from the seats.
The KT Hammond, who was rumored to be out of the jurisdiction, has come in and is actually, shouting out instructions to the minority to move. He's a known rabble-rouser in the House.
Is he the senior most MP in the parliament now?
Very, very, very interesting, telling them that they should move. They should move. So he's pushing out instructions
like, and asking them, who is the man in cloth?
Move. That's Kwabena Donkor, his very good friend.
Kwabena Donkor, his best friend.
From primary school, yes, his best friend. From primary school.
MP for Swami and Majority Leader Oseche Mensah Bonsu and other NPP MPs attempted talking to the NDC MPs to vacate their seats, but all these proved futile.
Maybe someone.
Is it a fight?
Yeah, that's right. They are dragging someone, pushing someone.
Wow.
A lady is being. Yeah,
what's
that's
going
the
on?
Kasua.
Hawa Kumsin?
Yeah, that's right. Hawa Kumsin is.
So, viewers, these are live pictures from the floor. It looks like a loud argument. We haven't seen any blows yet. So, thankfully, I mean, we've seen in other countries people throwing shoes and things.
Eventually, the NPP MPs compromised and maintained the seats usually meant for the minority. Shortly after that, the clerk to Parliament, who acted as chairman, walked in and officially opened the first meeting of the 8th Parliament. As expected, he opened nominations for the speakership position.
Honourable members-elect, Clause 1 of Article 95 of the 1992 Constitution requires that a Speaker of Parliament be elected by members of Parliament from among persons who are members of Parliament or qualified to be elected as members of Parliament. May I also refer you to Standing Order 8.4.
MP for Tamale South, Haruna Drusu, nominated Alban Bagbin, but before the nomination could be seconded, Efutu MP Alexander Apenyo-Markin raised preliminary objection. The resultant effect of this was a stalling of the process for more than 2 hours. The frustrations could be seen on the face of the clerk, who simply wanted to carry out his duties. The clerk later confirmed that an injunction notice had been served on him in respect to the Asen North MP-elect. Order was restored and proceedings continued. In the end, the two sides nominated Professor Maikwei and Alban Bagbin. The stage was set for voting through secret balloting. Shortly after voting began, the process was disrupted again, as some NDC MPs accused the NPP of breaching the secrecy of ballot rule, a situation that resulted in the destruction of election materials.
The MP wanted to show the vote to the MPP whip, and so Muntaka had to go in to prevent him from doing so. So that's what I just saw.
There's a real fight. There's a real fight. This is unsightly. MPs, fully grown members of Parliament, kicking ballot boxes, pushing down voting booths because they insist this is hooliganism on display.
Some soldiers were later seen storming the plenary in an attempt to maintain law and order. That intrusion by the military has since been condemned by a number of Ghanaians.
The clerk has been escorted out by policemen, and the NDC minority, the NDC caucus are trying as much as possible to get the military men out.
There they are chanting the words of the national anthem. Oh, this is so poor. This is not what we expected coming here today. And they appear resolute. None of them is sitting. They are all standing, pushing what they believe is right, whilst the members of the MPP side are comfortably seated and observing proceedings. This really is so poor.
Following from this, the voting process was restarted. All MP-elects took turns to cast their ballots. Even the Asen North MP-elect voted despite the injunction slapped on him. Sooner than later, the election was over and counting began. The ballot box to be counted first was that of Professor Maikwei, followed by that of Alban Bagwin. In the process, the MP for Tema West snatched some ballot papers, which also stalled the process.
Someone has taken the ballot papers. Someone has taken the uncounted ballot papers. Is that Carlos Ahinkra? That's Carlos Ahinkra, isn't it, of Tema West? And he's been attacked.
Leadership of the House was then forced to go into a meeting to address this.
So that's Hansen Agyemang's report. Now, I have in studio what you can have christened it the debate of the whips. I have in studio the whip of the MPP caucus in Parliament, a member of Parliament for Ansawam Adwadwo in the Eastern Region, the Honourable Frank Annoh-Dompreh. Welcome.
Yeah, good to see you, my brother.
Good to see you too, Honourable. Also joining me via Zoom is the long-standing member of Parliament for the good people of Asawase in the Ashanti region, the chief whip of the NDC caucus in the 8th Parliament. Honourable, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, and I greet your listeners. Good evening, and my colleague, Honourable Annoh-Dompreh. Good evening.
Okay, thank you very much. So let me begin from you, the Honourable Annoh-Dompreh. Being in the thick of events is different from having the opportunity to sit back and review the incidents. I'm sure apart from this report, you've had the opportunity since Thursday morning to also review and take a look at the scenes, the things that happened through the night right up until the morning of the 7th January. Many have said that that was the worst of our democracy on display. Sitting back and comparing it to what happened with you being in the thick of events as well, trying to marshal forces of your group and the rest, are those who describe that far from right?
Well, good evening to your listeners again. I think that, first of all, it's a big disgrace to the institution, Parliament, and then also to us as a country. If you look within the sub-region, Ghana has distinguished itself as a very shining example in terms of democracy. And our democracy, the fulcrum of it, is our Parliament. So, and we know it. Ghana is a good example when it comes to countries who have, gone under the influence of coup d'etat and people have hijacked democratic dispensation. We have had our own fair share. So that at our back of our mind should have, been a very good lesson to us in whatever we do. But all put together, I think that Parliament as an institution, we have to see this as a big lesson. If you look at right from the dawn of independence, our Parliament or the Assembly has evolved. But really, as it evolved, we've not been able to put in place measures that could, surmount and combat such behavior. So it's as ugly as it appears on the face value of it, and I condemn it. It's something that we have to look at again, and going forward be able to put in place measures that will be able to combat such occurrences in the future. But be it as it may, I think that we could have avoided the situation. I mean, and if you speak to senior members of the House, my good friend, the Honourable Muntaka himself, the Honourable Haruna Idrisu, the Honourable Chairman Sabonso himself, if we had been more patient, and engaged more, probably we could have avoided this. I say this mainly because of the fact that, I had been into the chamber earlier to ensure that we have a place for our members, and then put out tags and all that. Probably I should have contacted the Honourable Muntaka, where we do it together, And then when we came into the chamber, we found them sitting at the right-hand side of the speaker. And before time, or ahead of time, we all knew that we had 137, and our colleagues also had 137. And consistently and clearly, abundantly, our MP, now the second deputy speaker, had also pronounced where he wants to belong. So,
but at the time, really, Parliament was not constituted.
Yes,
because we were all members, MPs elect. The clerk had not even taken a chair to be chairman of it.
Yes,
so
you can make that
someone
argument.
said it was inconsequential.
No
because
problem. You can make that argument.
Really, the House was, it was
Yes.
some even say it was even an informal session.
You can make that argument. It is a fair argument to make. And you see what happened was more or less a novelty. We've not had such close numbers before. So anybody can make that argument. That's why I said that, well, if we had engaged, probably would have avoided the situation. And then now, if you go beyond that and look at the violent exchanges, the innuendos, the insults, the snatching of my good friend, the Honorable Muntaka, who seems to, I think, has rehearsed his tactics and antics in the snatching of ballot box.
Well,
I think I have to see him.
I'm sure he will disagree.
I'll have to see
will disagree with you.
I'll have to see him for some lessons. So, all put together, it puts us in a bad light. And if you recall, the three arms of government, it is the legislature which more often than not has been bashed by the public.
Yes.
And that should have been a good lesson and guided us enough for us to be more careful. So, all said and done, these are my introductory remarks, and I think that we could have avoided this if we had engaged more.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let me come to you, Honorable Muntaka. Your colleague has described it as shameful. I would say that you are much more experienced in the House than him in terms of longevity in the House. You are also quite, in the thick of events more than probably Honorable Anodom. But of course, you are both whips and you did what you had to do. This disagreement started from the interpretation of what a secret ballot should be. He has described this as shameful. How would you describe it, and how do you think this could have been prevented?
Well, I mean, good evening to you and your listeners once again. I couldn't have agreed with him better that what happened that fateful day was very unfortunate. I mean, I believe that we could have avoided that. I mean, clearly we could have avoided that. And the things that happened, well, I agree with him largely. If we had engaged earlier, I believe that maybe this would have happened. Because you see, since the election was over and the numbers came, if you saw a number of the interviews that are granted, I mean, I would excuse it because that time it was not in leadership. It wasn't part of leadership in the 7th Parliament. I kept saying that, look, we needed to engage. We have to engage. But unfortunately, my colleague, or our colleague, the majority leader, I don't know what he was thinking. I mean, maybe he didn't see the need for the call for the engagement. Now we came to the chamber, and when this chaos, were happening, then now the like of Honorable K.T. Hammond, Kennedy Japan, my good friend, Honorable Anodom Prayer, and Afenyo Mankins all came there. Look, what did you talk before we came in? And I said they should ask the other chairman because we didn't. Now, when we went into conclave and came back, you will notice that we were able to get the process to start fast, which meant that if we had started that way, by engaging before even entering the chamber, maybe we could have avoided all this. Let me say clearly that I know my colleague may agree or disagree with me. If the group decides that they were going to put aside the Constitution and our standing orders and do it their own way, if we had discussed it, we would have gotten to know that we were not going to allow that to happen. And therefore, we should allow what finally happened, where everybody had to vote without showing his vote, which was, enshrined in the Constitution, Article 1044, and then our standing orders 9.5.
But Honorable Muntaka, just a few hours before, not to cut you, but just a few hours before, there had been a ceremony of some sort to dissolve Parliament, right, where we had the Speaker of the 7th Parliament preside. There were some remarks from the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, remarks from Honorable Osei Chairman Samos. Before that, the leadership had engaged the media. Are you saying that no opportunity presented itself for the leadership of the caucuses going into the new Parliament to try and thrash out some of these issues, looking at how close the numbers were, or even still are? Let me put it that way.
That's exactly what I'm telling you. It looks as though our colleagues from the majority were avoiding any talk. They were avoiding any talk about what's going to happen to the 8th into the 8th Parliament. And it was all about, oh, we are taking our strategy in our corner. And I remember very well on one of the sister stations, I said it. I said, well, if you keep your corner and take your strategy, I keep my corner, I also take my strategy.
Yeah.
And then on that day, let's see what happens. And I did predict perfectly what happened. So I said that I can foresee, even where sitting, where we are going to sit, could be source of conflict. So we've not started to discuss anything. And this was about 10 days before the day. Unfortunately, well, and I always say, and I'm sorry, sometimes I really wish also here to respond directly. I have always said the style of Chairman was terrible. It's a very good.
Well, he's not here to respond, so I think we should move away from that.
Let's go to the leadership. Let me look at the actions.
Okay.
Clearly, it's supposed to be led by the majority in the 7th Parliament. It was his responsibility to lead those discussions, and he failed, and therefore he failed Parliament. Well, when he failed to do the engagement, he was failing Parliament, and that's exactly what he did. And unfortunately, all these incidents happened. Be it as it may, as my colleague said, my worry was why my colleagues opposite went into a meeting and decided that everyone was to show his ballot, when they know clearly the Constitution and our standing orders front on that. And they are Democrats. I mean, you play by the rules. With the greater respect, we're not in a jungle. And I know people will say about that, what all of you did, turn the chamber into a jungle. If you can take the video of that day and play it, I'm sure you will see that I was complaining to the clerk who was the chair. I had complained more than 10 times. My colleague, Honorable Anodon, so will admit that I kept telling that, no, we have to do this secret. So the clerk should announce it, and the chair will announce it and say that this is supposed to be by secret. He had announced it more than 15 times, but consistently, he seemed to be helpless. He asked the marshal, but he was sitting down, you complain, and it's like, his body language is like, there's nothing I can do. And you see, I keep saying that I was within the law. Just check the representation of the people's law. Okay. That's on the election. And Regulation 31, where it was talking about the secrecy of voting. The responsibility to ensure that was not left to the electoral officer. Because it talks about the electoral officer, the clerk, the candidate, the agent, or the polling agent. And said that shall maintain voting by secret. So I had a responsibility under the law to ensure that that happened. I must admit, the first instance, when I tried to tell the gentleman, my colleague who had just the first voter, that no, you can't put it in the box because you have shown it, and therefore it's null and void, it led to a scupper. So it was agreed, and then we were to start again. Then the second time, he showed it again. So to avoid a situation where I was trying to tell him I won't let him put it in the box and the scaffold, I decided to pick the ballot box and to turn it to the returning officer. If you notice, the video is there, you can watch it again. Yeah. I picked the ballot box, not to keep it, but I sent it to the clerk who was the chair to tell him that no, once he has shown it, he has flouted the rules, and therefore he was not to put it in the box. I was within the law. At least with the representation of the people's law, which mandated me as the agent for Honorable Babin to do that. If the chairman, who is in this instance, the clerk or even the electoral officer, sitting down and pretending that there was nothing he could do.
But some have called that conduct unlawful, and have even equated that to what happened with Honorable Carlos Ayenkra snatching ballots on the floor of the House. And those who are calling for the probe says that all these conducts are unparliamentary conduct and brings the name of Parliament into disrepute. I'll come back to you, but if you quickly react to what happened, the issue of breakdown of communication.
Just to say this, those who are saying that I'm not conversant with the law, and I'll be happy to appear before any government, but I insist that we need to investigate the whole process. And I'll appear with the law to show that what I was doing was lawful. because the law mandates me to do that. And I just quoted the law to you. When people are not aware of the law, they can say whatever they want to say. But I'm saying that the law mandated me as an agent for a candidate to make sure that and maintain that this happened. And that was exactly what I did.
Okay.
Okay.
So if we appear before any committee,
you are ready to and then defend that what you did was wrong and that it was lawful.
One of the things I also want to say is that when we entered the chamber and we realized that we're sitting where we're supposed to sit, I think that we need to be commended. Okay. I mean, in all fairness, we needed to be commended because we had it tough controlling our side because they were also determined to go and sit at where our colleagues were sitting. It was difficult, but we took a compromised position and sat there. Then what angered our colleagues were, the tantrums, the insults. At the point, somebody had to drag a seat from the Honorable Osla, who fell. I mean, who fell on the floor. Was very, 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 very abusive. Yeah. I think that is what angered our colleagues, and I mean, it was an attack.
But she also retaliated. You also attacked the Honorable Collins Dowda by being pushed the chair she was.
Well, maybe I didn't
was sitting on. Yes, but there was a retaliation.
Well, if there was a retaliation, that's okay. But I'm saying that for a colleague member of parliament to pull a seat from your fellow member of parliament, it was the worst form of attack anybody could engage in. And then, the booting of ballot boxes, the insult here and there, all fed into a certain, impression in the chamber. And we had it very difficult controlling our colleagues. I recall several times I had to engage the Honorable Muntaka, I had to engage the Honorable Haruna Idrisu on the need for us to instill some sanity because it was like baptism of fire. Yeah, and we also didn't want to be, to carry that impression away. Now, on the majority leader, as my colleague, my good friend, Honorable Muntaka said, for the few years I've known him, he's somebody who engages and he opens up. I don't know what led to that blockade in discussion. And as I said, it's a lesson for all of us. I mean, none of us is perfect. And we have never experienced such a situation before. Probably, and I think that if there should be any blame, I will not agree entirely with my colleague, the Honorable Muntaka, that they all should be put on at the doorstep of the majority leader. I think that if you look at the extent of experience of the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, for instance, granted that the majority leader was not coming forth, I mean, he could have also, because they are very, very good friends, he could have also come forth. So, if there should be any blame on leadership, I think the two of them would have to carry that cross. And it should guide us going into the future. That all of us need to be mindful of the fact that the real source of our power is the good people of this country. Today, if the residents of Insoma Dregiri said, they're not going to vote for me again, I cannot go into that chamber. So we all need to be guided. Now, the aspect where my colleague took the ballot box, and he says the reason they are ascribing is that they were defending the Constitution. I mean,
and he's quoted the laws to back that fact.
Yeah, that's
as agent for Honorable Bagwini, he had every right to protect the vote.
Yes, he has the right, but his right has limits. With all the greatest of respect, if we are voting in the public, you don't say that, okay, you've seen somebody show his vote, and hence you will go and pick the ballot box and go and give it to the presiding officer. It's not done like that. And he says he complained. I also complained several times, but under no circumstance did I go near the ballot box. So that one is, ab initio, is wrong. Okay. And I think that as experienced as my colleague, he should know that one, it shouldn't come up. We should have to put that away and said that we went wrong by picking the boxes. If members of parliament, there is voting, and then we are motivated to pick ballot boxes, what are we going to tell our constituents if we have that?
All right. On that note, we'll take a break here. When I come back, we'll move into the issue of what form and shape this probe that, of course, they both agree to it, at least from the initial comments that we've had. They both agree that the issue should not be left lying, they should be probed. We'll look at what shape and form this probe should take and over what period, and even when should this process commence? This is the point of view. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Happy New Year. During the festive season, we brought you moments that I've spent with diplomats who are representing their countries right here in Ghana.
The plantains with, how do you call you make them hot.
The kelewele.
Yes, the kelewele, yes, kelewele, yes.
Of years that it's here, but we are only a small portion.
We're walking on history. In these COVID times, and viewers, do forgive me, I've taken my mask off because I've been walking for a while and I was beginning to struggle to breathe.
This COVID has changed everything that we ever know.
This is good though.
Oh.
So you grew up eating this?
It's the business.
What's it made of?
Let's talk about that later. Enjoy it first.
Starting with this, the four either statuettes.
So it looks like a band. Somebody's playing the drum, the guitar. Is it the saxophone? Yeah. As we continue the rerun of Diplomatic License here on City TV, every Saturday at 5 p.m., join me, Apioko, as I spend time exploring the cultures of the different nations that are represented right here in Ghana.
You're welcome back. This is The Point of View. We're actually looking at the incidents that characterized the swearing-in and the inauguration of the 8th Parliament. Just barely a week ago, the chaos on the night. We're asking whether it should be probed or not, and if it's going to be probed, what form and shape that probe should take. I still have in studio the Honorable MP for the Good People of Esau Maduaje, Frank Anodompre, Chief Whip for the NPP caucus, as well as the...
I'm the majority chief. We usually should be both.
I want to stay clear of the controversy. Yes, Chief Whip of the NPP caucus.
There's no controversy.
The Honorable Alhaji Mubarak Mohamed, who is the Chief Whip of the NDC caucus in Parliament. So let me come back to Honorable Muntaka. Now,
we seem to be giving you more time than that.
Well, you spoke before we went on break, so I think it's only fair we come to him. Yes,
no problem.
But we just have to manage the time. Honorable Muntaka, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, hello.
Yes. Okay. So,
hello.
Yes. Can you hear me, please?
The line is very faint.
Can you hear me, Honorable Muntaka?
I can hear you at. Yeah. Hello.
Yes. Can you hear me now? Is it clear?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so you're on record to have indicated that, before, such votes happen, and looking at how close the numbers are, though it's expected that there is canvassing and lobbying among both caucuses. You succeeded in being able to canvass and get at least, in unexpected margin, 3 from the NPP caucus to vote for your candidate. But here's the case we are hearing that you are alleging that a member of the country's bench, the apex court for that matter, was calling members of the NDC caucus and promising them goodies. Is this something you can confirm on this platform? And what evidence you have to adduce to that allegation you are making against a court that very soon may be hearing an election petition that involves your flag bearer and your candidate?
Well, my brother, if I heard your question right, you're asking whether I succeeded in getting some members from the MPP side to vote for us. Yes, obviously. That's why Professor Michael Gogo wanted 6.
No, but that's not the question. That's not the question. The question is, you are on record. Yes, you're on record to have said that there is a member of the country's judiciary who was canvassing for votes for Professor Michael Quay from the other side, promising them goodies. Is this something that you have evidence to to adduce to prove this? Is it an allegation you can repeat and adduce evidence to that fact, or to that allegation and put that way?
Well, you don't expect me to give you my evidence on your show because I've not done that on any other show. The former majority leader, the leader of government business, over the weekend was accusing the NDC side, our side, that we were bribing members on their side. And I said, no, if you are talking about bribing, then find out who were calling members of my side. And I can then say, I went further to then say that I can tell him, if he cares to know, even some members of the Supreme Court were calling members on my side. And I mean, one of the persons that they called, they were promising her all manner of things.
What did they promise?
And she mentioned her price. Well, like I told your other networks, I don't take what I say lightly.
Okay.
I've heard people saying all manner of things. We know what we are doing, and we know what we are holding.
So if you should appear before if you should appear before this body that we are all pushing for should be established, and you are put to the sword,
you
will provide that evidence.
Sure, definitely, we will provide those things because it's a call that they made. The time that the call was made, I mean, and everything is there, so it's not in doubt. If it comes to the probe of all the things that happened on that day, I'm sure it becomes necessary. And it comes up, obviously, it will be made known because the member is alive. The member on my side who was approached is alive. It's not that she's dead. So all I will tell you is that what happened on that day, and especially what happened before the chamber, was simply that my colleagues opposite, especially those from the 7th family, I can't put the blame on my colleague, Honorable Anudompe, because himself, his first day was the day.
First day on the job.
Of the sick. That was the first day he was getting it. But believe me, those in the 7th leadership were not working. They were just sitting down hoping that, they were going as business as usual. The 169 attitude mentality, where regardless of what happened, they have sold such a huge majority, a majority of about 63 members. So regardless of what happened, even if some don't come, even if some do what, they are hopeful that they will cross. But those of us, we knew where we were coming from. I can bet you, I mean, if it was something that you could talk to Honorable Barbie, he will tell you. We started working right from day one when we knew that the numbers were 137, 137. And even before we settled on who we could pick as a speaker candidate, we started working. Whilst our leadership was working, whether to chair candidate and who that candidate would be, I have started working and started reaching out to members and talking to people, trying to get them to understand that, look, it is in the national interest, at least for this time round, for us to have a speaker from the other side, so that at least for once we'll play the proper oversight on the executives. And I'm grateful, and I believe that what happened has God's hands in. I'm very convinced that God knew why He made what happened happen. And I'm very hopeful that it is not going to lead us into chaotic situation as people may predict it. At all times, we will act in the best national interest. I mean, I've told my colleague, another friend, that look, let's not panic. I can assure you that we will act in the best interest of this country. Those abuses that used to happen, you come and you are jumping, you are speeding. I mean, you come and lay something, 10 minutes, you produce report. Those things, those abuses are those things that will stop. People come with their budget and they will not bring details, and yet they will use numbers and push it through. All those things are going to stop.
So the re-rolling of things to Parliament, you are saying, will stop.
Adequate details. Those things have to happen. But we are not going to be obstructive. We are not going to be abusive of the opportunity.
And you will be filibustering.
I'm sure that we are going to act very, very professional.
All right, okay.
Well, you see, we are going to engage, and we have started engaging. I was rudely struck when the member-elect injuncted, you know, my investigation revealed that the Marshal Department had tried to prevent him from entering the chamber. And members of our colleagues in the minority, again, who had threatened mayhem if he's not allowed into the chamber. And lo and behold, they defied the injunction order. And I was surprised that our colleagues who respect the law, who were quoting Article 104, were quoting Order 9, saying that it had to be respected in a strict sense. Didn't see the need for the injunction order to be respected. I had pity on the man, the 60-year-old member of parliament, and only God knows what the effect of Article 105 will be on him. That was most abusive. We are supposed to serve as embodiment of law. Okay, we are a chamber that makes law, and then we are supposed to respect an arm of government, the issues and order, and we abuse it. That was just too bad. Now, on the Supreme Court Justice's allegation, I want to just plead with my colleague. I mean, don't forget, we have a case in court, and we have a history in our country where, the judges of the Supreme Court had been treated in a certain manner. If my colleague, my respected Honorable Muntaka, has the evidence, he has to come out, okay, and prove it, and they will settle this matter once and for all. Personally, with the greatest respect to him, I think that is just a diversionary tactic. In my view, it's a diversionary tactic, and they don't have any evidence to prove that indeed a Supreme Court justice has engaged in what they allege they have.
All right.
So that is a matter they have to pay attention to. Now, if you look at what happened in the chamber and then what happened to the clerk has said that he had, this correspondent from the court, and our colleagues said they won't respect it. I can't just imagine why they did what they did.
Because they said that the member had not been served.
Well, but if the member has not been served,
and they were even doubting who had even served the clerk.
Granted, if the member has not been served, and then the chief administrator of parliament, in this sense, the clerk, has produced and he tabled it, and you are still saying that because it's not being served, you're not going to respect it. That was something else, and I thought that we could have avoided that situation. On the violence visited on our colleagues is something we cannot shy away from. Exchange of myself, I was assaulted. I had a few knocks here and there, all in a bid to protect the sanctity of the process and to appeal to our colleagues to stop. Look at the body language of the Honorable. You have to bear with me, I have to mention some names. The Honorable Jinapor, my very good friend. Look at his body language, look at his demeanor. It was most awful. The Honorable member from Ashaman, I mean, dragging a seat from a woman, attacking woman.
And you will mention Honorable Carlos Ahenkra as well.
Yes, I will. We've had tension-packed moments in our chamber where sometimes people have even exchanged harsh and rude, words, but not this extent. Then I hear people say that the military that came there was out of place, and only God knows what would have happened to all of us. Because if you recall, when the military came in, after a while, we had some sanity until they moved away.
But there was resistance from the NDC caucus. They didn't even allow them to settle.
We
were shouting,
brought
they
that
were
to
singing,
ourselves.
chanting revolutionary songs until they left.
We brought that to ourselves.
So that's to their credit.
We had no business. Now, the question of secret balloting, secret voting, as described. Are we going to say that you have been a correspondent in Parliament for a very long time? Yeah. When we say three-line whip, people do these things and they show to their colleagues. It is done. It's a convention. It's done in normal practice. It's done.
But when they insist on a secret ballot, at least the last time we experienced that was when they were voting on the CI.
So are we going to say that we have never voted by showing in that chamber before?
It happens.
No. Are we going to tell ourselves that it has never happened? But when there's
secret ballot, at least the one on 2 occasions that I've witnessed secret ballot, there wasn't a brazen show of votes like it happened.
Nobody showed it brazenly or with the sense of impunity. I don't think I saw that.
You were standing at the corner trying to find out.
You saw people openly showing it. I didn't see that. So we brought this shame onto ourselves, and I'm hoping that. And as he said, we've started engaging, and I must commend him. The Honorable Muntaka's wonderful chap. I didn't know he was this great. He has opened up because we have a lot more ahead of us that we have to do.
Okay, let me find out from you
come from the president.
Quickly, what form and shape should this probe? Because across the aisle, the consensus that there should be a probe. What form should it take? Should it be a bipartisan committee? Are you going to bring people from outside, or the speaker should use his discretion to form a committee?
Well, Parliament is the master of its rules.
Yes.
And then you also recall that what happened, I think that even though Parliament has issued a statement, majority, I have spoken on behalf of the majority leader to apologize to Ghanaians. I think in the chamber, we have to apologize to Ghanaians.
Okay.
It was most awful. Both sides have to do that, and that may have to come from the leadership of the two sides.
Yeah.
Then beyond that, I know there is an important meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
The speaker will be engaging the two leadership. We can take a decision there, what form of investigation we want to conduct.
Okay.
And then how we want to deal with the so-called perpetrators of what happened. I think that the harm has already been caused. We must find a way. For me, what is important is that we must find a way not to repeat what happened. And it cannot just be a wish. There must be structures put in place to avoid the reoccurrence of what happened. That is, for me, what is very critical. And that's what we should pay much attention to.
Let me bring in some of the comments that you've sent in so far. Salam Atuak from Boko says that, hi Duke, there's nothing like a probe. The MPP insisted in engaging in illegality and unconstitutionality by saying the ballot must be open instead of secret. That should rather be probed. How can the righteous be probed? Enoch says, those of us who voted for the NDC are proud of the Honorable Muntaka. God bless him. Norbert from Anininye says, Duke, find out from the NDC man why they chose to obey some laws and disregard others when it pleases them. Why did they allow their member to vote when they knew clearly that there was a court injunction against him? Thank you. Tamaligu from Yendi says, good evening, host, and to your honorable MPs. I want you to say a big kudos to the Honorable Muntaka for his hard work and his vigilance, and also for ensuring that the standing orders of the House were strictly followed. But please, what we want as citizens is that next time they choose to use otherwise, but not, the other words are ancillary, they are not words that I can actually use here. So the Honorable Muntaka, just a minute before we go on the break, he has indicated that there is a meeting between Speaker and leadership tomorrow. You have, at least I've seen, my life as a parliamentary correspondent, I've seen at least 2 of such probes instituted by your own action on the floor of the House. Are we going to see a similar thing to Cash for Seed, a similar thing to the hearing which involved the Honorable Kennedy Agyapong? What form and shape should this probe take?
Yeah, before I answer that, let me just say that when he said that someone told him, I'm happy he's alleging that someone told him that when the member for Asin North was entering, he was being stopped and we insisted and pushed him. That's absolute lie. Nobody, and I can tell you that we walked together into the chamber. Nobody tried stopping the gentleman. That's not true. And secondly, when he talks about the injunction, believe me, injunctions are personal. And if you want, just go and take the injunction. The Clerk of Parliament was never mentioned. So the Clerk of Parliament couldn't have turned himself into a bailiff to serve a member that, at that time, member-elect was not under his jurisdiction. Today, you and I, as the Clerk of Parliament, as the administrative head, we are under his jurisdiction in terms of administration. When anything is happening, people can bring your letters to the clerk and he will have to get it to you. At the time we were elected, we were not under his jurisdiction. You should know the notice. So you should know the difference, that you cannot just serve someone through someone. And he couldn't have served in the chamber. So what he tried to do itself was unlawful.
Okay, Honorable Muntaka, at this point, we have to take a break. When I come back, I'll allow you to wrap up the point and then we'll move on. So we'll take a break here. When I come back, a couple of your comments and then wrap up this interesting discussion. This is The Point of View on City TV. Stay with us.
City TV is live. On DSTV, go to channel 363. On GoTV, access City TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a news search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and Star Times box. City TV, it's your world.
This is Fact Finder from the BBC.
We live in a world where news travels fast, and sometimes it's hard to differentiate fact from fiction. Fact Finder brings fact-checking from the newsroom up close so you can separate truth from chaff. Be empowered to tell what's fake from what's real. Watch Fact Finder by the BBC on City TV every Wednesday at 6 p.m. City TV, it's your world.
Welcome back. This is The Point of View. Final minutes of the program. We're actually looking at whether or not the Parliament should probe the chaos that characterized the inauguration of the 8th Parliament. Honorable Muntaka, before we went on the break, you're making the point about the service. But of course, we are very limited in terms of time. So if you wrap up that point and come to the form in which that probe should take.
Say that. Yes, so the probe that you are saying, like my colleague Honorable Anudon rightly said, we are meeting Mr. Speaker tomorrow at 2 p.m., both sides of the House. It is our belief that this kind of discussions and engagement is going to inform all of us the way we want it to go, whether we are going to have it bipartisan, whether we are going to have external people mix up, MPs and external people, whichever. I'm sure the discussion will determine which form it may take and what specifically we may want to be investigated. I strongly believe that we need to be able to do this, and I agree with my colleague Honorable, so that we try to correct the wrongs and to also put in measures to ensure that anytime we are going to be voting, we'll stick strictly by the rules. And then he was talking about this is not the first time he's seen us voting. You agreed, Honorable, each time we're voting, I've been awake for the past 8 years. Yes, you all are called. You come to the maze, and then you are given a sheet. Then you write whatever, and you put it in there. You don't write and turn your back and show it to your members. I mean, the only worst one that I saw was when in 2005, the election of Seti Hughes and Peter Ladete, the ballot was shared. While people were seated, and then after that you vote, and then you come forward and dump the sheet. I mean, that one was not in compliance with the law. So I believe that we need to put in measures, truly, I agree with you, to make sure that this doesn't happen, because, I mean, this will have been avoided.
All right. Okay. So just this one from a member of parliament who wants to remain anonymous. He says, wow, injunctions are personal. How about the secret vote? That is what is personal. It is intended to protect the voter from discrimination and harassment. The NDC MPs had no business insisting that MPP members ought to be compelled to exercise or waive their right to a secret vote. And by the way, the clerk, to the extent that he was served as enjoined, to the extent that he was served, was enjoined to enforce the order of the court. Honorable Anodonpre, you have the last word. We have just about 3 minutes to wrap.
I think that we on the majority side have conducted ourselves well. Otherwise, things would have degenerated. And both sides of the House need to realize that we are responsible, and we have to show, we have to live beyond approach for our people to have confidence in us. And that can be done when we engage more. If you look at how close the margins are, what it means is that we need to engage more. Now, the question about whether we are in the majority or not never arises. I want to put that clearly, that the independent the Honorable Formina, the MP from Formina, has identified with us. So it settles the matter. We are in the majority. We are hoping that tomorrow, we are hoping that tomorrow this matter will put closure on this matter, and so that Friday, because I mean Friday, we are also not going to take it lightly.
Yeah,
we will sit at where we have to sit.
Hey, I'm just hoping that we may have another 7 January.
No,
play out.
I don't think so. But I know eventually they will understand, and they will have to sit at where they belong. They belong on the left side of the speaker, and so that would have to go down well. Tomorrow, let's settle this matter once and for all, and then Ghana can move forward. This thing about who is in the majority and minority, it's so basic. Regardless of the margin, it's so basic that we should be able to unravel this simply and move forward as a nation.
Okay. So that's how we would wrap up today's discussion on the point of view.
Yes. You were going to let me
all right. Okay. So just last minute. Yeah, 1 minute.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling him they don't have majority. He should read the Constitution 97 G and H. When the exemption was going to be made, it was exempted for parties if the parties agree, but not independent candidates. So you can never add that one to your 137 to be 138. You are 137, we are 137.
Wow.
You don't have the majority. So please, I hope that tomorrow when we meet over the speaker, maybe he may have to make rulings using other things.
Well,
you don't have majority.
Order 5. Order 5 gives the speaker. Order 5 gives the speaker that yawning discretionary powers
to interpret it.
To interpret it as he deems fit. But I also know that 1 + 1 is 2. The speaker cannot say 1 + 1 is 3.
All right. I wish I were just a fly, somewhere sliding by the wall of that meeting that will take place in the Speaker's office tomorrow at 2 p.m. But this has been a point of view. I had in the studio the Honourable Member of Parliament for Samoa Dwadje, the Honourable Frank Anna-Dompreh, Chief Whip of the NPP caucus, as well as the Honourable Member of Parliament for Asawase, Frank Anna-Dompreh, who is Chief Whip for the NDC caucus. This has been the point of view. My name is Duke Pensopoko. I sat in for your regular host, Bernard Koku Able. See you same time on this program on Wednesday, The Point of View. Keep watching CCTV for the very best in programming.